In this video, I'm going to show you an automation I built for a friend that he's using to help with his cold sales pipeline, and it has already saved him hours. It's a bit of a niche use case. It's using AI to read info from thousands of screenshots and then fill up a spreadsheet. But it involves quite a few funky processes like how to get AI to accurately read text from an image, how to get the data into a nice format so you can actually do something with it, and also how to automate the process so it can be done over thousands at a time with the click of a button. What I'll show you is exactly what I've built for this friend, how to set up the exact same system using the blueprints linked below, and then 3, how to adjust the system and make changes if you would like to do something similar but slightly different. I'll show you the main pain points and where you could hit troubles. The goal is this should be so simple, anyone who has never used this software before should be able to get up and running by the end of this video and have a good idea of what is possible. Let's just dive straight in. What we've got here is n8n. This is just software that makes it really easy to set up automation. I am a software engineer. I could build something like this, but using software like n8n allows you to do it in minutes or hours rather than days or weeks. It's very similar to Zapier, if you've heard of that, but gives you more fine-grained control, allowing you to use code in places much easier than other softwares. What we've got here is a Google Drive of 11 images of screenshots of restaurants in London. And what we want to do is pull out data from these screenshots. I've just got a bank of 11 here. This is not exactly what I built for a friend, but we'll be able to show each of the steps that happens. We have these images. We then want to fill out this spreadsheet. So what we've got is where is the image in Google Drive, the Instagram handle, the link to their Instagram name, followers following, their bio, if there's an email address present, and then if they have a link in their bio. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take these 11 images and we're going to fill up this spreadsheet. Nice and simple, but hopefully you can see doing this over thousands manually would just take hours upon hours. Let's see this running. We'll come in here, this entire flow. I've got it happening on click test flow. Start. And we're done. So we can scroll in here. We can see this has happened over 11 items. And then on the 12th run, it has said, okay, we're complete, and it has sent me an email. Let's see how it's done. We come in here, it has filled out all of the details. Great. Let's look at one of these. This is the image that it worked over. They've got 51,800 followers, 437, bistro_Freddy. Bistro_Freddy, 51,800 followers, 437. Perfect. That one at least has worked perfectly fine. And then I've got an email that's came through notifying me of this. If we come back in and look at the flow, look at the execution. In total, that took 2 minutes 43 seconds to run over 11. Okay, that's how the whole process works. How do you get this set up yourself? First thing, you come to n8n.io. I will link this below. You then click get started. It'll take you through a sign up flow. You can do all of this through a free trial. Because I already have an account, I'll click open. Come in, create workflow. Top right again, import from file. And then here, the file that I've linked below, just open this. Ta-da! We've got the entire flow laid out here. You'll see a bunch of these little red things, and that's just because we're not connected up to those apps yet. Things we need to connect up to are Google Drive, Gmail, which is just for sending the confirmation of completion email, Google Sheets, and then OpenAI. So how do we connect to them? Let's start with the most complicated one first, which is Google Drive. This can sometimes be a little bit of a pain, but let's walk through it. What you do is come to console.cloud.google. Again, I'll link this below. Click APIs and services. We're going to come enable APIs and service. There's a big list here. We're just connecting up Drive, Google Drive API, enable. Once that's complete, we then need to create credentials. Select an API, Google Drive API. Best one to do here is user data. We're setting up OAuth consent screen. I'm going to call this. Click the support email. Because this is internal, the other things here don't really matter too much. Save and continue. Come through here into scopes. Save and continue. Application type, web application. Call this hit N. And in here, authorized redirect URIs. This is where we need to come back into the Google Drive, set up credentials, create new credentials, and then OAuth 2, it'll give us a link. What we're going to do is copy this link, Come back here, got that one set up, and create. Here we go. We now got our client ID. Just copy this, come back into our flow, copy this into client ID. The last thing that we need to set this up is our client secret. Now to get this, come back into here, done. We come into credentials. Look, this is the credentials we just set up. The download button here, and it will give us our client secret. Come back in, paste, sign in with Google, great. And we're signed in, connected here. Now that it actually has access to our Google Drive, we need to tell it what are we reading data from. For that, we're going to come into Google Drive, set up a folder that you're going to put the images into. Take this ID from the URL, come back into here, and we're going to paste this. What this is saying is we're going to get images through our Google account connected to this ID. Nice and simple. If we just progress through the flow, the next one is connecting up to Google Sheets. In here, we're going to select credentials, create new credentials. For this one, it's a bit easier. We can just sign in with Google. And there we are, connected up fine. For this one, this is reading from Google Sheets. So it's very similar. We need to give it an ID of a Google Sheets. If we come back to this one that ran earlier, I'm going to delete all of these. This again comes with an ID in the URL. We're going to copy this, enter it here, select from the list the sheets. My sheet's called details from Instagram. Select here, it gives us this one. Yours might be sheet 1. Okay, that has connected up Google Sheets. Come to the other Google Sheets. This is connected up as well. We use the same ID. Okay. Next, Google Drive. Again, this is already connected up fine. And then Gmail, whilst we're on the Google theme. Again, here we're creating new credentials, and this is another one that we can simply just sign in with Google. Connected up there. As is connected, authenticated through Gmail, the only last thing that we need to do in this stage is tell it who do we want to send this to. And I'm going to send this to Sean, to myself. And then in here, auto completion, check it out here. I've just linked in the Google Sheets that I want to go and view. So you could just do that here. Copy this entire thing. Paste it in here. So the email you receive, you can just quickly press a link and open it up. That's everything related to Google now connected. The last ones that we still have this on, oh apologies, this Google Sheets is not connected. I'm going to do the same, enter the ID, connect it up here. OpenAI, this is another one that's a little bit more tricky. For signing up to OpenAI, what you need is an API key. It's just a way for you to authenticate yourself going to OpenAI. This is not using ChatGPT, it's using their API, which is just how you access the technology behind ChatGPT, sort of under the hood. To do this, you need to sign up for an OpenAI account, put in some credits, $5, $10 is plenty. You come in, I will link this exact link below. If you're already signed in, it will open it straight up. You'll create a new secret key, tell it what this is, default project, create secret key. It gives you this to link, come back in, paste it, save. Now we're connecting up to OpenAI there. We have credentials. We just come into this last one. There we go. We've removed all of the red parts. We're now connected up to all of these apps. It's worth explaining, what does each node in this flow actually even do? The first thing we've got here are the two triggers. One is for triggering on test, just by clicking this button. The second one here is for running this in the background. If you click test workflow and run this, but you've got thousands, it'll take a couple hours. As soon as you close the browser, it stops. This little webhook here just allows you to kick off this entire flow by copying this URL into your browser and hitting run. And we've got here request test workflow is not started. That's because when we're in development, we need to click test workflow and then run this. This has kicked off our workflow. So this is good. Let's see what problems we've got in the current system and what each thing has done. So we'll start off with webhooks. Worked in is then went to Google Images. We've connected this up by the ID of our folder. This query string here just says that we want to fetch all of the images in this Google Drive, but we don't want to get any that are in the trash. And then this is what this outputs. Link to all of the images, including their ID. Come out and go to the next step. This here is a limiter. We've got 11 images. This here is just saying we're only going to allow 2 through. This is just really good for testing. You can remove this by just clicking the bins here and then connecting these two up. This limiter is just good for testing. We then come to the loop overflow, and what this is doing is it's saying take all the items coming in, and for each single one run through this entire flow until they're all complete, and then send us a completion email. Okay, so the first thing it does is it tries to look for something in your Google Drive sheet. As we see the sheet we've got here, image ID, image link. What we're doing is checking in this thing based on the ID of the previous step. You'll see what comes through from the previous step. All these details. And one of these is ID. ID. What we're doing is filtering for any that have image ID. And if there are none, we're returning this data, which is nothing. If we find something, we say we want to skip that. But there's no point adding the same image multiple times. So it skips, starts the flow again. Otherwise, false. What we try and do is set an initial part in the Google Sheet. And this is where we've had an error. What's happened here? What's happened whilst I've been connecting these up, it is disconnected some of the things here. What we want to set initially is the image ID from this loop over section. Scroll down all the data that we get from Google Drive. Set the ID and image ID. And the other thing I want to set to begin with is a link. What is the link to that in Google Drive? I clicked web link view. What this is going to do is just, as soon as we've seen it, set the ID, set the image link so that we can open it up in Google Drive and go. Let's test this step, see if we fixed it here. We can see that's set it correctly. The next step is download the image. This was actually a bit tricky to figure out. What we need to send this image to AI. So I'm going to first look here, and I'll explain this in a bit more detail. We're going to send this image to AI, which is OpenAI, and try and extract out some data from the image. We're then going to use AI to get it into the correct format that we want, and then we're going to fill the sheet again. But before we send it to OpenAI, it was much easier to download the file into n8n. We come into here, what I'm doing is just saying we're going to download this file based on the ID. So this entire flow will download this image from the Google Drive ID that we've provided, and it's going to download it into G Drive image binary. Now this could be named anything. The only thing is this name here needs to match up with the next stage, which is analyze image, and we're providing it G Drive image binary. This is just so that we can provide the image straight to OpenAI. If we come back, let's test this stage of the flow. Click the play button. We then come in here to OpenAI. We can test this. It's going to take in our downloaded image and it's output a bunch of data. Where's it got that from? What's going on? This would be a place that you might want to make some changes. This is just the initial prompt that we give it. What we're saying is that our goal here is to extract out information from a screenshot of an Instagram page. And what I want it to do is return in this format called JSON. JSON is just how computers speak to each other, essentially. It's a nice, easy format for readability for people and then for computers reading this data as well. I want it to respond in this exact format, and it's very good for AI to do this so that you get the same structure every single time. And I've said we want the Instagram handle, Instagram name, followers, following, bio, email, bio link. But in the above section, I've explained what each part of that is, and then I've added some specifics. If at any point it tries to return this and it can't, say null. This is not that important, but it just helps with the future steps. And then I've explicitly told it make sure not to correct the words in the image, especially if somebody's got something unusual as a name, or in the bio we want to try and prompt it not to make stuff up, which AI has a tendency to do. So that's that stage. Let's see here, it's outputting this. It's sort of JSON, but it's inside a string, it's inside text. The best next step was to convert this into actual JSON. When we're using OpenAI not to analyze image, we're just sending direct text messages. What we can do here, run this to test, is provide it this input and tell it just convert this to proper JSON. We've given all the fields here. So if you update the last step to extract different data, you then want to extract it here as well. So what I've first done is just went and copied this part into the next step, pasted this in here, and I've just told it convert what I'm giving you into this same format. The important part here is that we've then put output content as JSON, so you can see when it outputs the data, it gives us very specific parts that we can use in the next stages of the flow. And in the next stage of the flow, we'll run this. Oh, we've had problems here. In the next stage of the flow, we can see the previous stage and we can access these specific bits of data. Now let's see, where have we got an issue? Columns are outdated, refresh. Each of these are green, meaning it knows the data is there. Test this again. Okay, that's worked fine. And here we see it's filled it with all of the data that we had. Now once this is complete, it tries to restart the flow and move on to the next item. So I click this. It'll move on to our second item in the flow. Now that's all well and good if you want to run the exact same flow, pulling out the exact same data that I have. If you want to run this, chances are you're either going to have different style images or you want to pull out slightly different information. How do you go about doing that? The first stage of this is actually to start with the sheets. What is the data that you want to get? For showing you this, I'm going to add a new column, which is number of posts. And on top of pulling out all of this data, from an image, I'm also going to pull out how many posts has the person made. So we're going to start with this column, number of posts. We come back into our flow. There's a few places we need to change. We need to change all of the places that write to Google Sheets. And then we also need to update AI so that it knows to extract that data. If we start with the simple stage, which is Google Sheets, we're going to come into here. We're only sending these still. We're not updating that because we just want to set the image ID, image link. But in here, we need to come in and refresh the column list. Sometimes this appears with a warning, but I know we're going to need to do this. That's the first stage. The second one in here, again, see it's give us a warning here. It's now added this column, number of posts. Where do we get that data from? To get that data, we need to update both of our AI stages. If we come into this, that's actually extracting the data. This analyze stage is actually getting the data from the image. We need to tell it that we're extracting that data, otherwise it doesn't know. What we're pulling out is number of posts. We're going to add this to the data to extract. Number posts, and that's a number that it's going to return. And then in here where we've gave the description, put number underscore posts. I'm going to tell it how to get that. It is the number that is above the posts text. Nice and simple. Even if we didn't provide this, it would probably be able to figure this out, to be honest. Okay, so we've got this data, but as we've seen, it's going to return a string. I know to come into here, paste this, exact same thing that we just had, and now it will return this data. And then in here, we're going to want to update to add to here. At the moment, everything's gray because it is not run through the flow, so it doesn't know where the data is. I could just copy this, paste it in, and change the text. I know that would work, but let's actually get that set up. What we're going to do is test the workflow to get to that stage. And to do that, I'm actually going to remove this webhook. It is very useful for running in the background, but it causes a little bit of problems for testing. We've removed this. Now I can just click test workflow, and it will run through the flow. We'll see our first iteration. Success. I'm just going to pause that there. Let's see if it's pulled out the correct data. Come into here. Let's give us this text. Does it say number of posts? We can see number of posts, 162. And then has this returned correctly? It's took in this text. It's returned number of posts. Great. So we can come into here for Google Sheets. We can now say in this column number of posts, I want you to populate it with number of posts. Correct. Has that filled the sheet? Yeah, it's filled the sheet with the full data, and then it started the next one. I'm going to delete both of these, delete this, and run the workflow again. Okay, success, that's run through. Has it filled in the data? We've got all of our existing fields, and then it's given us number of posts as well. We can just quickly look at this image. 162, number of posts, correct. And this one, number of posts, 73, correct. Okay, that's how the flow works. That's how you update everything. That's all I've got. I am filming this in February. I am fully booked with work for at least the next 6 months, but I'm always happy to chat about automations, tech, AI, anything like that. If any of this seems of interest to you, or any business you're running, or if anything similar to this, reach out, let me know. Always happy to chat.